Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show that takes those complex, maybe kind of overlooked topics and really unpacks them for you. Today, we're getting into something really sticky. I mean, literally sticky, but in a super innovative, eco-friendly way. We're talking about bioadhesives. Now, you probably think of, regular synthetic glues when you hear adhesives, but these are different. They're natural sticky substances coming from plants, animals, even tiny microorganisms. So, our mission today: figure out why these natural glues are becoming so crucial, what impact they're having right now, and well, where this is all headed. We want you to really get this often unseen but fast-moving area.
Yeah, and it's important to see that this isn't just some small trend. The rise of bioadhesives, it's tied directly to this huge global thing, sustainability. Think about it, traditional glues, often petroleum-based, big environmental footprint. What's really game-changing here is how bioadhesives fit with cutting waste, lowering carbon footprints, saving resources. They're not just another option. They're key to making things truly circular products you can compost or recycle without leaving nasty stuff behind. It completely changes what we mean by disposable or sustainable.
That's a really powerful way to put it.
Yeah.
It's one thing to talk about sustainability, but can you give us the numbers? What figures really show how big and fast this market is growing?
Oh, the numbers are definitely telling. So in 2024, the estimate for the bioadhesives market was almost 9.9 billion US dollars. But here's a really interesting part. The projection for 2032, it's expected to nearly double, over $19.4 billion dollars. That works out to an 8.80% compound annual growth rate, the COGR. Basically means growth of almost 9% year after year for nearly a decade. Pretty impressive.
Wow, okay. That kind of growth, nearly doubling, doesn't just happen. So beyond the big sustainability push, what else is really fueling this? Is it all regulations or other things kicking in?
It's really a combination of things working together. Regulations, yeah, they're a huge driver, pushing industries to find greener ways. But at the same time, technology's gotten way better. These bioadhesives aren't just eco-friendly anymore, they actually work really well. And then, of course, you've got us, consumers. People increasingly want products that are, better for the planet. The big pluses, they're non-toxic, they break down naturally, and they work much better with materials we want to recycle or compost. That makes them very appealing.
Okay, so if you're listening, you might be wondering, where am I actually seeing this stuff? Where are bioadhesives making the biggest difference right now?
Well, we're seeing a pretty fundamental shift in some massive industries. Packaging is definitely out front, especially in food and drinks, think labels, cartons, paperboard packaging, lots of applications there. But they're also showing up more and more in cars, in construction materials, and even increasingly in healthcare. The main trend is switching away from those petroleum chemicals towards renewables. Things like starch, cellulose, soy protein, plant-based stuff.
Right, that switch to plant-based materials. So how much of the total adhesive market do they actually represent right now? Are they still a small player or...
Good question. As of 2024, bioadhesives have about, let's say, 25% of the whole adhesive market. Synthetics, the traditional ones, still hold the lion's share at 60%. And then you have hybrids making up the last 15%. But, and this is key, while 25% might not sound dominant, remember the synthetic market is pretty mature. Bioadhesives are where the serious growth is. They're expected to hit 27% by just 2025. That shows steady, accelerating growth. It's less about the size of the slice now and more about how fast that slice is growing.
That makes sense. And when we talk market share, are certain parts of the world really leading the charge here? Where's the action concentrated?
Yeah, geographically, North America is currently out front. They've got about 35% of the market share in 2024. A lot of that comes down to proactive green policies and just strong demand for sustainable solutions in general.
Okay.
Europe is right behind, around 30%. They're really pushed by a strong focus on sustainability, too, and big regulations like the European Green Deal. Very influential.
Interesting. So North America and Europe leading, but what about other regions?
Well, the Asia-Pacific region, that's one to watch. They hold about 25% market share right now, similar to bioadhesives' overall percentage. But here's the thing, they're expected to have the highest growth rate.
Oh, really? Why is that?
It's mainly due to rapid industrial growth across the region, plus a rising focus on sustainable practices. Think countries like China, India, Japan. They're pouring significant investment into green tech and infrastructure, so huge potential there.
Okay, but it can't all be smooth sailing, right? Every growth story has its bump. For bioadhesives, what are the main things holding them back from maybe even faster expansion?
You're right, there are definitely hurdles. One of the big ones is regulation. regulatory hurdles. It's actually quite complex, getting approvals and certifications, especially for specific uses like in medicine or food contact materials.
Right, those would need to be super safe.
Exactly. They demand incredibly high safety and performance standards. That means lots of rigorous testing, complying with all sorts of different rules. Take healthcare, for example. A bioadhesive for, say, wound closure or surgery, it has to go through extensive biocompatibility tests. Then it needs approval from agencies like the FDA in the US or the EMA in Europe, that whole process. It can take several years and cost a lot of money.
Wow, years. And I guess it doesn't help if the rules aren't even the same everywhere. You mentioned a lack of standardized guidelines.
Precisely. That lack of standardization in some regions creates real uncertainty, delays. Imagine you're a company trying to sell your product internationally, different countries, different requirements. It makes things really difficult.
Yeah, I can see that. So how do those inconsistencies slow things down? Does it hit smaller companies harder?
Absolutely. These fragmented regulations create serious barriers to entry, especially for smaller innovators who might have great ideas but not the massive resources to navigate multiple complex systems. It all adds up. Higher costs, longer timelines for R&D, longer timelines to actually get the product onto the market.
Mm.
So even if the innovation is brilliant, it faces this really long, expensive journey. It's kind of fascinating how something like adhesive rules can really impact market growth and innovation.
Okay, so challenges exist, definitely.
Yeah.
But like you said, hurdles often spark innovation. So flipping back to the positive side, what are the really exciting advancements happening or coming soon that could change the game for bioadhesives?
Well, the progress has been pretty remarkable, actually. If you look back, the early bioadhesives, think starch, gelatin, casing, they were green, sure, but honestly, they weren't always that strong or durable, especially under heat.
Right, limited performance.
Exactly. But the recent breakthroughs are quite different. The focus now is on integrating more advanced bio-based polymers. Things like PLA, that's polylactic acid, and PHAs, polyhydroxyl conjugates. These materials significantly boost strength and durability. They're making bioadhesives genuinely competitive with the synthetic ones in a lot more situations now.
PLA and PHA, are those already making their way into products? Like, are we seeing these advanced bioadhesives in demanding areas, maybe like electronics?
We are, yeah. There was a great example just last November. Bostik, a big player, launched a new bio-based instant adhesive, and it was specifically designed for consumer electronics. Yeah, it's a perfect example of bringing together sustainable materials with the kind of high-performance bonding needed in, high-tech stuff. It really shows that shift towards greener options, even where performance demands are really high.
Okay, so that's happening now. What's next? What's the sort of next frontier for innovation here?
Looking ahead, I think nanotechnology is going to be a big deal, especially integrating nanoparticles like nanocellulose. The expectation is that this will push the mechanical properties, strength, toughness, and also the thermal properties like heat resistance even further. That could open the door to using bioadhesives in really demanding industrial jobs where maybe they couldn't compete before.
And I guess that opens up entirely new markets too. Yeah. Are we seeing sectors like, say, automotive or even aerospace starting to drive demand for these next-gen bioadhesives?
Oh, absolutely. Those industries are definitely pushing development. They have incredibly tough requirements, right? Bonding strength, stability under heat, resistance to harsh conditions.
Yes.
So the R&D investment is targeting those needs. And a likely side benefit is creating bioadhesives with even better biocompatibility, which, thinking bigger picture, could mean much wider use in critical medical areas. Advanced wound care, surgical sealants, things that could be truly transformative for healthcare.
What a journey. This has been really illuminating. It's so clear that bioadhesives are on this amazing upward path driven by that global push for sustainable everything. And yeah, there are challenges cost getting the performance just right, navigating those tricky regulations. But the research and innovation we've talked about seem to be tackling those head on. It's opening up some really fascinating possibilities.
Exactly. And if you zoom out a bit, the bioadhesives industry isn't just like reacting to environmental pressures. It's actively helping shape a more sustainable future for how we stick things together. Across packaging, automotive, construction, healthcare, it's pretty fundamental. We're really watching a foundational shift happen right now.
So here's something to think about as we wrap up. As our world keeps pushing harder for sustainable solutions, how might these rapid advances in bioadhesives really fundamentally change how we design and build, well, everything, from the phone in your pocket to the building you're in right now? Something to ponder until our next deep dive.